Man, the audio on that last review was horrendous. Absolutely horrendous. I'm hoping it's going to be better on this one. But once again, I am driving in a car on my way to work. Except this time, I'm in my car. So maybe the background audio won't be as bad because I'm not driving a little PT Cruiser. But it is raining right now, so maybe you'll have to hear that. Now, something that I forgot to mention with my review for The Final Empire was I like to try to read at least one book a month, at least with what I'm doing here on YouTube. I want to try to read at least one book a month, and Ascension, The Final Empire was so slow at the beginning, and it was so difficult for me to get through that it took me 2 months to get through it. And I know there's some people out there who can like read an entire 500-page book in a single day. That's just not me, because I really just don't have the time for it. And this book, Well of Ascension, was much easier to read. It was really cool, honestly. I mean, Vin is a full-blown Mistborn now, right? Not only that, she's something slightly more than a Mistborn. There's starting to be these kind of whispers and talks about her, people calling her the heir of the survivor, and giving her a place in their new religion that Kelsier has given them. She's of course very reluctant about this. She doesn't like the attention. She's used to being hidden and quiet and afraid. Even during the events of the first book, she was still very much the only people she talked to were the members of her crew and people at the party. But now she's, the people are kind of trying to force her almost to fill this role. I like being able to read in this book from Sazed's point of view. I'm not sure if we read from his point of view in the first book. And I like reading from Ellen's point of view. I think that's really cool. There's this, the siege that's going on. That's really interesting. And still Sanderson continues to throw these just unexpected twists, and he does a really good job. He does a really good job of something that I find just extremely important in writing when it comes to tension. And it's basically putting your characters in a position where the readers are going to go, okay, what are they going to do? Right? How could they possibly get out of this? How are they possibly going to survive this? Right? You put your characters in that situation to where your readers have no idea how they're going to possibly survive the situation. You're doing good, right? That is tension. It's fear. You just want to know what's going to happen next, and it's a very difficult place to be because you could really screw it up, right? Look at George R. R. Martin, for example. When we're looking at A Dance with Dragons, he is really good at putting his characters in situations where you don't know whether or not they're going to survive it. The problem is he kind of wrote himself into a corner during A Dance with Dragons, right? And that's not just fan speculation. He literally talked about it, right? He talked about this Miranese knot where he sent all of these characters that Daenerys was eventually supposed to meet with to Meereen because he realized that Daenerys needed to stay in Meereen for longer than he had planned. And so he was like, well, I'll just take the characters that she's supposed to meet and have them go to her, right? But then he realized, crap, there's all these characters with all these different motivations, and instead of Daenerys meeting them individually over time and then handling the situations like that, now everyone is in the same position, all kind of, fighting over her attention. And so it was this big situation. He didn't know how to. He kept talking about how he had to unravel this Milanese knot. And then another situation, of course, is with that character that he said he killed off. Right? There were rumors that George R. R. Martin had killed off a character, and he regretted it because it was making writing The Winds of Winter very difficult. And a lot of fans speculated about who it could possibly be, but the fans of A Song of Ice and Fire are really good at figuring out things eventually. It takes them a while, but eventually there becomes a consensus of what we all think it is. And I agree with the theory that the character he killed off that he didn't want to die was Kevin Lannister. Which I suppose I shouldn't really talk about this. I should probably go more in depth on it for my Dance with Dragons review that I want to do. But basically that created a difficulty in King's Landing where Cersei was in a position where it's like, how is she going to survive the next week? The small folk hate her. The most powerful institution in the city other than the crown, the faith, right? The faith militant, they want to kill her, right? So how is she going to possibly survive the next week without Kevin Lannister to be there to protect her and to calm everybody down? So he even just last year, right? Because just last year, George said something about how, I just finished a clutch of Cersei chapters that was really giving me a lot of trouble. I think that's why. I think because George had no idea how the hell am I going to get her out of this situation. Pierce Brown does something similar as well with the Red Rising series. He always puts his characters in crazy situations. How are they going to survive? And he's generally, I'd say about 80% of the time, he's done a great job of finding a natural way for them to get out of these deadly situations. But the other 20%, it's very deus ex machina, right? It's very, where did that come from? So there's suddenly a secret army off to the side that can save you from everything. It feels very cheap at times, but the story's still amazing. The world building is so great. I love it. With this book, however, with Well of Ascension, I think that Brandon Sanderson's slower writing pace is actually a great benefit to getting them out of this situation, getting these characters out of this situation. This character, or this second army shows up, right? Not only is the city besieged by Ellen's dad, now it's besieged by another lord, right? Chet or Set or whatever you want to call him. And they're both besieging the city right now, and Vin's talking about how, there's a mist spirit out there that wants to kill me, and then there's also a Mistborn out there that wants to kill me. And we have no Atium, so if I face a Mistborn that has Atium, I'm gonna die, right? And Elland is, sucks at being a king. He's too idealistic, and so the council that he appointed, this government that he appointed for a checks and balances system, they're trying to depose him. They're trying to fire him. The government that he created is trying to get rid of him. The people are starving, right? There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And it's like, in what world, right? In what world are they going to survive this? And then a third army shows up. To kill him. All these people are here to kill them and take the city. And so you're just like, they're just going to have to slip away in the night and let the city get completely taken. But because of Sanderson's slower writing pace, I think he's able to really pull apart the threads and figure out good, natural ways for the characters to somehow survive this thing, right? And it doesn't feel cheap. None of it really feels cheap. Right? Like Vin and having Zane, I think it was, Vin having Zane kind of whispering in her ear and talking evil things and convincing her to attack Chet, and she kills 200-300 of his men and scares the shit out of him, and so he just takes his army and leaves. because she tells him, I'm going to kill you, right? So Chet says, nope, we're leaving. So Chet leaves. And Ellen, right? Ellen going to, wait a minute. No, sorry. The Kolos ended up attacking. Ellen's buddy was just gone. He lost control of his army, so Ellen just cuts off the dude's head, right? And then there's the whole aspect of hemalurgy and being able to control these creatures using emotional allomancy, which Vin learns through Tensoon, who she thought was... I've been reading from Tensoon's point of view so much, I forget what the original Khandra was called when he was Renault. But yeah, she learns this through Tensoon, saying that, teaching her how she can control these people. And so she's like, okay, I'll try to control the Kolos. Oh, I can do that. And so she learns how to do that. She builds herself up this little mini army while the city is being attacked, and she's just going through and eventually she kills Zane that one night, and then she goes to the Well of Ascension. She takes the power, right? And she realizes, she's like, I'm not going to be like the Lord Ruler. I'm supposed to release the power. So that's what I'm going to do, because that's what all the legends say. But the Mist Spirit, stabs Ellen, and it's like, no, use the power to save Ellen. And she's like, I'm not going to do it. Boom, she releases it. But then she realizes that she released an evil god that wants to destroy the entire world, and that she should have kept the power for herself to keep that god locked away for another 1,000 years. And then, it's this big, oh my gosh, what have we done? This is crazy. How are they going to get out of this? This evil god has been released. It's a god powerful enough to change the very words that you write down as you write them down. It can whisper. Don't cut that out. I'm tired of fucking cutting out my yawns. It can whisper in people's ears and manipulate them using I think it's a kind of allomancy. It can manipulate people and push on their emotions and get them to do certain things that can change legends. And so it turns out the whole Hero of Ages thing, because Vin thought she was the Hero of Ages because all the signs were pointing towards her. Saza thought she was the Hero of Ages because all the signs were pointing towards her. It was all manipulated by this evil god in an attempt to get Vin to release him instead of taking the power like she should have. Holy crap, right? It's just this jaw-dropping, depressing, very depressing moment. And that's how the book ends, right? On this very depressing, they win the battle, slipping. Hydroplane, watch out. What time? Okay. They win these battles, right? Against his father, against everyone. They make Vin makes everyone kneel, right, and declare Ellen the emperor. And so they do, and now they have armies and they have control of the city. And so it's this kind of, sure, we released a god that's named Ruin, that its entire existence is to destroy all of creation. But it's okay, because we won this city, and we won the war here, and we'll have, we got a little bit of time we got time to figure this out. It'll be fine. I'm sure nothing bad will happen. It's all good, right? It's all good. And I think her and Ellen got married in this book, too. Yeah, her and Ellen got married in this book as Vin is, like, dying after her battle with Zane. That whole situation of her not knowing if she loved Zane or not because he was just manipulating the hell out of her. I loved it, but I hated it. Right? The whole time, like, Vin, no! Stay away from him. He's evil. Go to Ellen, Anyways, the book was great. I loved it. I'm going to find out what I rated it now. I think, Well of Ascension, I gave a higher rating. I gave it a 9.0 out of 10. which, yeah, I gave it a 9.0 out of 10. And which was higher, I think 3 points higher than I gave The Final Empire. We'll see what I'm going to rate this last book in the original trilogy here, the Hero of Ages. I think it's going to be higher because it's got some really epic moments. It also has some very emotional moments. You know, moments that you don't expect to be emotional, just emotional out of nowhere. And I almost started tearing up right at one part. And what was happening is something I never thought I would tear up at, but it was depressing. It's very depressing, and it was very well written. So we'll save that though for that review. I got to 70% read yesterday. I think I got to read. Oh hell! I think I got to read like 75 to 80 pages for the next few days that I have available to read, because I can only read when I'm at work. Because I spend my time off writing. Anyways, thanks for watching. I'll catch y'all in the next review. Adios.